In case you missed us last week, we couldn't find a decent moment to record. Also, it was because I wasn't feeling so well. Well, now you get a review for the last 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett all in one. Episode 6, From the Desert Comes a Stranger, and the season finale, Episode 7, In the Name of Honor. It was a smart move. Hello and welcome to the review of Champions. It's time to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6 and 7. Yeah, I just said the title, so I'm not going to repeat it. With me are Mr. Jeff Sloboda, Mr. Taylor First,
hey,
and Shadowbiz.
Hello, everyone.
Before we start, I would like to ask you all to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Join our forum on Sakar. Sakar.freeforums.net. It's a nice little forum, nice discussions, nice people, above all. And if you join, you can be on the podcast or review. We're open for everybody. So sign up. We hope to see you there. And also check out Jeff's YouTube channel, the MC's Brooding Edge. We will throw down a link in the description. We're going to talk spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episodes, go check them out first and then come back to the video. Well, let's just dive right into it. We're going to throw everything in one big pile. Biz, you go first. What did you think of the last 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett?
They were good, very good episodes. We always like to see more of Luke and Grogu, obviously. Grogu's been like missing since, I guess, ever since he was dropped off at daycare camp with Luke. Well, not daycare camp, but you know what I mean. He was training with him, like he's a baby, kind of like. But yeah, like they were awesome episodes. Like the finale was obviously like I know you had some issues with it, but to me it was awesome. Like it was like Star Wars, like through and through what you saw with the finale. But I'll touch on more with the episode before that. So yeah, obviously they were trying to get their army together, and obviously like there were complaints where Boba wasn't in it, but obviously he was back for the finale. But yeah, it was 2 awesome episodes. I'll leave it at that. We'll get into more detail later.
Absolutely, Jeff. I know you have seen the 6th episode completely and the 7th. You're currently watching while reviewing it. So give me your opinion, especially on the finale.
Sure. I want to just put it out there as to preface my remarks that I have watched and skimmed through the last episode to a point to where I know what happened, and I get the gist of it. I know the premise. I just, I don't know all the details, but basically, if I had to guess from what I saw, I feel like the last episode is it the 7th episode or the 6th?
Yes.
The 7th? Okay.
7th.
The 7th episode I feel like was better than the 6th. And just because I like the action-packed aspect of it, you know what I mean? Like, I like the gun battles, you know what I mean? And like, I like that big-ass creature or whatever the hell that thing was or whatever that pops up and whatnot and everything.
A Rancor.
Was that the Rancor?
Yeah, the Rancor he got in episode 3 or something.
No. In 7, that big creature that was.
Yeah. But he got that from the Hutts in episode 3, I think.
That was the Rancor?
Yeah, that was the Rancor.
Oh man, I didn't realize it could actually stand up and everything. Like, wow. All right, that's cool. But anyways, yeah. Hey, you know what? It was cool. Like I said, I liked the last episode. I like the action. I love the Mandalorian being a part of it. And joining up and being a part of the team, and Boba and Mandalorian like together, kind of. I don't know, like. As far as episode 6 goes, it was cool to see Luke again. They did a really good job with the digital de-aging or process or whatever. However they did that, I don't know the actual details as far as how they made that happen. If they actually, you know, I don't know how they produced that. You know what I mean? Like how that effect was done. But however they did it, it worked. And it was very nostalgic, like to see Luke Skywalker again, like at the same age that he was, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
And you know, I still don't completely grasp, because I haven't gotten all the way through with the Mandalorian yet. I still don't completely grasp what's going on with Baby Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever his name is. But like I don't really completely understand his premise, like what's going on with him or whatever. But
Yeah, that's fine. But
Yeah.
you will get there once you watch The Mandalorian. And then
Yeah.
a lot of puzzle pieces will fall in its
it
place.
was very touching, like that the Mandalorian has such feelings for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's something you wouldn't expect. Taylor?
I thought they were great episodes. I love how the show has went full on Western in these 2 episodes. The Marshal in episode 6 actually had 2 Old West shootouts. One he won and one he didn't win. And then we also, of course, in that episode, we also had the glimpses of Luke and R2-D2 and Ahsoka and droids that look like ants building an anthill, building his temple. So we get to see what's going on in the rest of the universe with the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. And you know, and I like that because there's a huge gap, of course, between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, and we only saw a few little tiny flashbacks in the sequel trilogy of that. So I want that whole filled in, and it doesn't have to be in its own movie or its own show. We can just see pieces of it through these other shows. So that was all good. And then the final episode was, you know, it was just awesome. It was off the hook. It was just, you know, we're going to go wall-to-wall action for almost 60 minutes here, and it's going to be the Battle of Tatooine. And I mean, we can get in all the details in a second, but I thought they were both great episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have some issues with it because the final episode felt a bit like it was written by 2 10-year-olds playing with their toys. I mean, that Rancor didn't need to go loose on. To me, that was a bit redundant. Although you got a nice King Kong reference out of it when he climbed the tower, and of course he smashed that flying car. I don't know what to call it. And but there was. I think all in all, if I look at the whole show, and I will let you guys do that later. I think the show got a little bit messy in the end. You get that first half of the show is really slow paced, and then you get that detour to the Mandalorian, and then you get that all out action finale. And to me, it felt a little bit disjointed. Although I can't complain, the action was shot beautifully, and there were awesome shots and scenes in this last episode. So overall, I still think it was entertaining enough, and overall I enjoyed it. But as a finale, it didn't feel like the finale of the Book of Boba Fett that I have been watching, if you know what I mean. Felt a bit disjointed, at least to me. Jeff, you had a follow-up comment.
Yeah, just quick. I wanted to mention this. I didn't think of it earlier. I love the Western angle of the entire show. That I dig. I dig the Western angle. I love that they brought that in. You know, I think they actually described the show as a sci-fi Western. Like that's supposed to be the model of it or whatever, which is a really neat.
Basically, also what Star Wars is. It's part Western, part of the Eastern, actually, samurai stuff. So it has those elements. Only the samurai is, of course, more linked to the Jedi, which was not a real big part of the show.
No, but I agree with you, Grandmaster, about the disjointedness of like the entire series overall from an episode to an episode standpoint.
Yeah.
But I do feel like they definitely came through in the end with episode 6 and 7 and raised the bar back up after like episode 3 and 4 were kind of, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there was a loss of enthusiasm, I felt like, especially like when I'm reviewing these episodes now on the bleeding edge, but we're behind. So we just reviewed episode 4 last night. And like people that have been coming on my show have had some pretty negative, iffy kind of like reactions to episode 3 and 4. But I feel like they did a good job balancing things out. And it kind of reminds me of like where I was at with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier when that came out, where I felt like it was very uneven. Like the episodes were not consistent. You know what I mean? Like it was up and down. Same kind of dichotomy.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. But Taylor, you can elaborate all you want now on the show or the final episodes or whatever you want to say.
I liked it overall. I liked it from the beginning. I think that the way they decided to do it is the first half roughly of the season was filling in Boba Fett's backstory for the most part. It was all those flashbacks about the Tusken Raiders and all that, letting us know everything that's happened to him that we haven't seen before up to that point, and just a little bit slowly increasing the present situation. And then of course they we found out that the Mandalorian was going to come in and be a part of it, so they took an episode to fill in what he's been doing since we've last seen him. And I didn't have any problem with it because, again, I don't try to write stuff for the writers. I just want to see whatever they come up with done well. And I think they did do all of that well. And as far as the final episode, again, they went full on Western. In fact, the final battle, the movie that it most reminded me of was the climax of the movie Silverado, which is a Western. If you've never seen it, check it out. It's kind of an unusual Western, but it has a huge battle for the control of a town at the end of that, and a lot of things in this movie reminded me of that. The other thing that I had a huge thing, of course, is the gunslinger / bounty hunter from Clone Wars. I forget his name. Cad Damn, the red-eyed guy with the Clint Eastwood hat.
Cad Bane, I think it is.
Cad Bane, okay, that guy. He was obviously modeled on Clint Eastwood. I mean, the actor that was playing him was doing a Clint Eastwood impression the whole time. Plus, he had the Clint Eastwood hat, so you couldn't miss that reference, and that's fine. Star Wars does that; it's always done that. And of course, he was set up as the big threat, the gunfighter, the one-on-one. He outdrew the marshal, and then he's the one that Boba Fett had to end up standing down. As far as criticisms go, it's Star Wars, so the Star Wars fans are going to criticize it. That's all they do, or many of them do that a lot. Okay?
I actually wrote an opening statement about Kathleen Kennedy doing it again, dividing the fandom. But then I figured I couldn't really make heads or an end to it, so I figured I will throw it away. But you're absolutely right. This show divided the fandom again, and the Star Wars fandom can be toxic as AF.
Well, I mean. Even The Mandalorian divided the fandom too. Everything making anything Star Wars divides the Star Wars fandom, apparently.
Yeah, I think it's because it's been spread out over so many generations. You have the generation that will say the OT, the original trilogy, is holy and is untouchable, and all that came after and in timeline-wise before is meh. You have a generation that grew up with the prequels. The prequels are holy to them, and the OT is, of course, great because everybody loves the OT, and the rest is meh. And then you have a generation that grew up with the cartoons, and then, well, of course, you have the latest generation, but they are still in school trying to hit puberty. The ones that grew up with the sequel trilogy, and they should just shut up.
They're the ones that Star Wars is written for, though. Lucas
himself exactly.
Wrote the original Star Wars for 12-year-olds.
Well, the comment.
That's the audience.
The comment that Archer's brother made during our review series for The Mandalorian Season 2, and that always stuck with me, and I believe it's true. Star Wars is if you look at the individual movie or movies or series or whatever, it's not really good. There's always a lot of pacing issues, dialogues, acting. It's really not that good. Only it thrives on cool pictures, cool characters, and great action. That's what it floats on. And
Yes.
if you look at
That's what it is.
and if you look at it, that's what the Book of Boba Fett gave us in abundance. So,
Yeah.
And that's a separation between what Marvel's been doing for the last decade versus Star Wars, is that Marvel has all of it. They've got the characters, the story, it's all there.
yeah, I agree, but I do believe that what Star Wars has been doing, and since the Book of Boba Fett, I strongly believe they have been doing that also since The Force Awakens, is trying to get to a situation where Marvel Studios is. Because
The interconnectivity, right?
yeah, the temple we saw in episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett is the same temple that was burning down in The Last Jedi when Luke had his flashback. I mean, that is the kind of stuff that builds a universe. And I think
with these series, they can spend more time developing the characters, like The Mandalorian, much more than they could in the movies.
I think The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars has done. And the Book of Boba Fett is certainly not the worst. That remains the Attack of the Clones, but that's another discussion.
And they hired
Attack of the Clones.
they hired Sarah Finn to handle all the casting for The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. So what does that tell you?
And the guy that made the cartoons, Dave Filoni, and Jon Favreau, who started the MCU, they are collaborating on building this for Kathleen Kennedy. And I think people may not see it right now, but in 5 years they will say that those three people have made Star Wars brought them to a higher plane of existence. This. You haven't been talking for a while. I'm sorry to cut you short, Taylor, but I'll go back to you first later.
No, it's okay. Yeah, like I was just gonna add on to that with like the whole the Star Wars fandom. Yeah, that it obviously can be very toxic and divisive. They're at some points they're never happy, but with in terms of Boba, why it's getting like a bit more, I guess, heat or like a bit more criticisms. The problem is, I think, is because we started off with Mando, and Mando, they had to like give it. The Star Wars company had to give it its all because that was like the starting show. It had to be good. And Mandalorian, unfortunately, he was a bounty hunter too, so he kind of stole Boba's kind of like thunder, if you know what I mean. So I guess I can totally understand that they had to like bring the wow factor straight away. Otherwise, or just go into like, you don't want mediocrity or decline. Otherwise, Star Wars will be at that point where after the sequel trilogy wasn't all too great. But I still love Boba as a show itself. It was obviously it deals with Tatooine again. He is a bounty hunter. But anyway, with the in terms of like the final 2 episodes. How amazing was it when we got like Cad Bane? I did not see that coming at all in the what's it called? What do they call it? The penultimate episode, the episode right before the finale.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like he killed it in that role. Like he could have been like, even though he was from a cartoon, that they like the way he was presented, like the way he was like made, it was easily realistic. There was nothing like cartoonish about him. Like even though he felt like a really like fleshed out like real life characters like you could see on Tatooine, and that intimidation factor. Holy crap, that guy was scary.
And Biz, look who they cast to play the character, right?
Who was they cast?
What a good job. Oh no, I mean maybe I'm thinking of the wrong character.
Cad Bane is the guy who shoots the marshal in the 6th episode.
Okay, I was thinking you were talking about Timothy Oliphant.
No, that was the marshal.
That's the marshal. Yeah, that's the marshal. I can never remember his name either.
Yeah, he's obviously good casting as well. Like he came from Justified, and he was also Was he a
Deadwood.
marshal in that, or was he a
Dead-
sheriff? I can't remember.
He was a sheriff in Deadwood, and Deadwood is a classic.
Oh, he was a sheriff in that too.
Yeah, I think he was a marshal in Justified, if I remember right.
Yeah, he was a marshal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, what I was going to say, like, oh yeah, Cad Bane, yeah, like that guy who he was intimidating as hell. I mean, like it was awesome, like the way he was introducing it. Also, like you, Taylor was saying, it came from the Clone Wars, and we all know Clone Wars was made by Dave Filoni, and then Dave Filoni directed an episode where Cad Bane made his like official cameo. So that was all good, like how that all came about. But like ultimate Star Wars fans, they'll be like, this is awesome. And also now with the finale, we got everything in there. Like that was so action packed. It was like a dream come true for like a kid who watched like the prequels. It's like this is awesome. Like how it all came together. And then Boba came back. People were concerned about Boba in the last episodes, but they were building to someone up to something. Like this is the Book of Boba Fett. So yeah, like what else can be said? Like how awesome was it when Boba was riding the Rancor? I did not see that coming at all. Like there were some complaints where like the ship, why didn't he use the ship? I'm like, fair enough, but then I was talking about it to another guy, like there would have been too much collateral damage if he used the spaceship. So I can understand that. But as you can see, Boba really cared about the city. Like he was going to go off to his base, but then you could see, so it kind of fits in, like he didn't want collateral damage with the city because he's looking after it. Yeah, it was. There's not much else to say. I can't really like. I mean, if you want to find criticisms, you can like with anything. But I'm ecstatic about this show at the moment.
Well, it's not that I want to find criticism. It's just what hit me when I watched it, and I think it's fair that you mention what you feel when you see it. And but Taylor, you had a follow-up comment.
Yeah, I agree. That's what it's about, is how you feel when you see it. And I've been thinking about this a lot based on a conversation that Arch had on the board with someone else on a different subject. It's 100% subjective as far as I'm concerned at this point. Either you like a movie or you don't like a movie. The problem is when someone either likes or doesn't like a movie, they try to invent some objective standard by which to prove to you that you should like it or not like it. You know? And it's 100% subjective. It really is. I know all the artistic stuff about movies. I know about cinematography, writing, acting, directing. I know all about that. None of that makes me like a movie. All right, may make it a good movie. Doesn't make me like it. Okay, so if you say, hey, we're having movie night tonight, you got your choice. You can watch Citizen Kane. You can watch Plan 9 from Outer Space. I'm picking Plan 9 every time because it entertains the heck out of me. All right.
I'm watching the one with some titties in it. If it's got some titties in it, I'm watching it.
You can pick which, again, purely subjective. But and again, since the season ended, I've watched a few videos of people criticizing it, and the criticism, it boils down to stuff you can do with anything. Go watch riff tracks. They can tear apart the greatest movies ever made easily by picking them apart, by looking at each individual piece and saying, this doesn't make sense, why didn't he do that, blah blah blah. It's all nonsense.
That's why I watch Cinema Sins, not because I think it's valid criticism, but it's actually basically he makes fun of criticism of movies. Yes. But people don't get that he is actually not making fun of the movie. He's making fun of people who are picking movies apart.
But a lot of the complaints I've seen about Boba Fett so far is some of them, they just weren't paying close enough attention because they said, I've never seen a colorful motorcycle in Star Wars before, so I'm going to hate the rest of this series, and I'm going to make up a lot of reasons to hate it. And I'm not going to look too closely because it might change my mind about the reasons. So like, for example, with the Rancor, like Biz said, collateral damage is one reason, but they also mentioned that blasters don't work on those shields. They needed something to put blunt force onto those shields. And that's why the Rancor makes more sense than a ship with blasters firing on it. And that's just one example. Yeah.
There are tons of examples. I mean, it wasn't bad at all. It's just, I just felt it could have been better. That's what all I'm saying. Jeff.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that people should really appreciate and enjoy Boba Fett, because just wait until we get the freaking Miss Marvel series and whatnot, and like the freaking goddamn and the Ironheart series and whatnot. It's gonna be like people are gonna be there's gonna be like a rampant amount of suicides and shit when those series come out and shit whatnot. It's gonna be depressing, man.
I think everybody has a choice to either watch or not watch a show, and if you're preset on hating something, maybe you shouldn't just watch it, because basically it's a waste of time. To that person. I'm gonna enjoy Miss Marvel or not, but I am gonna watch it, and I have no clue what it's about. So
I'm sure Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios has already came up with their excuses and whatnot, and everything they're gonna use when like Miss Marvel sucks and everything and whatnot, and people complain. They'll just say that like whatever. They'll have their excuses about it and whatnot.
Well, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Maybe it's the best thing they ever made. We just don't know, but we will just have to wait and see. I have my doubts, but yeah, we will just have to wait and see. Talking about this, the whole show, Boba Fett. I don't think it's fair to compare it to The Mandalorian. I mean, The Mandalorian is peak Star Wars to me. I think it's the best they ever did. But well, let's just say, is it on par with the? Yeah.
I'm sorry, if I could just interject real quick. The one advantage they had with The Mandalorian is it was a new character, and no one had preconceived notions like they did with Boba Fett. Everyone had their fan fiction on what Boba Fett was and how he acted and what he was supposed to do. So that was working against this show in the fandom, whereas they could start with a completely clean slate. With The Mandalorian.
Yo, Chloe Zhao already said she wants to direct the Star Wars film, so just wait till that shit house happens.
Can't wait. I love Chloe Zhao in her movies. So
if it's as good as Eternals, I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. Eternals was robbed at the Oscar nominations. So. Yeah, Jeff.
Oscars are a joke.
That's true anyway, but but you see, I mean, you can differ on opinions on movies, and you can still respect each other. So don't take it all so seriously, people. But I wanna put Boba Fett in its place in the Star Wars lore. Like I said, I think we're all in agreement that The Mandalorian is top. But let's compare it to the prequels, the sequels, the cartoons. What do you think? This.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah, like Mando's definitely beats Boba, only because we haven't seen it as much of Boba Fett yet, because like with Mandalorian we've seen obviously 2 seasons, but no, I like Boba has a special place among the whole Star Wars I guess collection. I mean, I can see like I said, like it's like we're on Tatooine again. He's still a bounty hunter. Like the problem with Boba is like Taylor was saying. As soon as you like it's like he was saying Mando is a new character. Like with Boba, you only got to see like a little bit of him in Star Wars. Like he was a cool character, but you didn't really know much about him. He said like 2 lines or something, and then that's the problem. If you try to explore a character more, then obviously it's more prone to mistakes being made, or like things that you might not want to see happen, as opposed to like a guy that's just standing there. I mean, that's always the trouble with, like, for example, you might, like, for example, in real life, you might adore some person that you know only superficially, but once you get to know them, it's like you get the whole package. You don't know all their flaws and interests and whatever that makes up the person. So that's I guess that's the thing with Boba. Like when you explore characters that don't have much to begin with, then there's that problem always comes up. But yeah, in terms of ranking, yeah, Mandalorian's definitely up high. Boba probably comes second in terms of like, I guess the only Star Wars shows that we have. But in terms of like the whole collection, prequels will always be up at the top for me. I love Attack of the Clones. Nothing will ever beat that. I'm sorry, original trilogy guys, but I grew up with them, so I'm biased in that respect. Original trilogy definitely comes second. It's probably it probably equals for me with Mandalorian, so they're both in second place, and then of course Boba. Sequel trilogy is down last. As for the Star Wars stories like Solo and Rogue One, that's a hard one now.
Rogue One was freaking great.
I agree.
Rogue
I
One was
think
great.
it's one of the better Star Wars movies.
So Rogue One, I think probably just under the Mandalorian. For Solo, see, I like Solo, even though I'm probably like the odd one out here.
No. I think Solo is also one of the better Star Wars movies.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it like just below Rogue One. Yeah.
Taylor?
Yeah, well, earlier when you were talking about all the generations, I'm actually old enough to have been in all of those generations. I was there when the first Star Wars hit the theaters back in the day, and I'm old enough to remember it. It's not like I was in a crib or something when it happened.
I'm a little bit younger than you, just a little bit, because I was 4 when Star Wars hit in theaters in '77. So yeah, I can't really remember, but I was there for the Return of the Jedi.
There you go. All right. But I would have a very hard time of ranking the entire franchise of Star Wars. I will say,
very hard.
yeah, I will say I like all of it. I like all the movies. I like Solo. I wrote, like as we all said, Rogue One is fantastic. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I can say that much. I love the original trilogy. I love the prequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy, I like The Force Awakens. I like the other 2 movies. But the problem is it's not a coherent trilogy. They had no plan when they executed it. I don't know what went wrong there. Someone wasn't paying attention. So there were some significant issues. But as far as the movies themselves go, as individualized movies, they're all good. They're not. I wouldn't say they're as good as the original trilogy. Now, the original trilogy, of course, has advantages. The original always has an advantage over everything else because everything that comes after is a copy, or a mutation or something from that original. So, it's always like that. Whenever something has a sequel or a prequel or whatever, it always has the disadvantage of not being first.
Okay, Taylor, I want to ask you a question. You were old enough to probably remember this, but isn't it true that Empire Strikes Back got the same heat as every other outing of Star Wars that came after it, that it wasn't really Star Wars?
Yep. Oh, yeah, I remember. Starting with Empire Strikes Back, the fandom complained that they're ruining Star Wars. It was 3 years ago, my childhood. You ruined it. Yeah. But yeah, no, they complained about it. It was too dark. It didn't have a happy ending. There were all kinds of complaints about it, and it made less money than the first movie. Of course, the first movie was an absolute phenomenon at the box office, but it made less money than the first movie. And then when the Return of the Jedi came back, it was too kiddie. Those dumb teddy bears running around in the woods. It was terrible, and every movie after. It's the strangest thing. It's one of the most popular franchises of all time, and yet people complain about every single iteration of it. It's really, someone should do a study and write a paper about that, about Star Wars, about this.
Yeah, and now Empire may be considered the best of all.
Hey, I just want to put it out there. I'm pretty old too. I've been around for a minute too, and I may have missed some things here and there compared to you guys. But hey, I was busy, man. I had to run through all these damn chicks and whatnot, left and right and whatnot, and satisfy them and shit. It's hard work, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So hey, I didn't have time, for Star Wars.
Yeah, sorry. The rest of us,
the movies, man.
The rest of us are nerds. We don't do chicks. You're the cool guy here.
Hey, you know, when somebody needs a guy that's handy in a threesome, I'm the go-to guy. You know what I'm saying? So hey, you know, I mean, I'm very valuable in that community. But no, anyways, if Grandmaster, if you don't mind me segueing, I am like the Star Wars novice, so like I don't know that much about Clone Wars and everything and whatnot. I don't know how well I could really fairly try to do any kind of real tangible ranking, but I will just say that you know, of course, for me, the originals always will stand out and have a place like in my heart or whatever, you know, like just because they were like a big part of my childhood. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that I remember that was like a unifying factor for me with like my favorite cousins, like and my family members and whatnot, like watching Star Wars with them and whatnot, you know, was like a bonding element. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I feel like for what I saw of The Mandalorian so far, it looks great. And then with Boba, I feel like basically as far as the last round of Star Wars films that came out after Rogue One, the next trilogy, I feel like Boba and The Mandalorian are better than that. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I agree.
And then as far as like the Star Wars films that came out in the early 2000s with that freaking Jabba Binks bullshit or whatever, dude, you got to smoke crack to come up with that, come up with that character and like throw that in a movie and think that's good. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit was terrible.
Hey, you should talk to Biz. He can explain. So Biz, explain.
Yo, I would be embarrassed if I created Jabba Binks.
Jar Jar.
It's Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar. I'd be embarrassed, dude. I would just leave the rest of like people down. I'd leave society and go.
I mean, I get it. He's a ridiculous character. But like I thought he was funny, so I didn't mind him. Like he was endearing in that way. So I grew up with him, so I didn't really attract me that much.
Maybe they hired him to run Miss Marvel.
Anyway, Taylor, you had a follow-up comment.
Oh my God.
This is me shutting Jeff up, okay? About Miss Marvel.
Yeah. I will say that again, I love Rogue One. I love Solo. I like Solos. Rogue One's better than Solo, but Solo is still very good. I will say that The Mandalorian is among the best Star Wars material in the entire franchise. It's definitely top tier, and I would put Boba Fett just below Mandalorian. I think Boba Fett was very good. Again, it had a couple of disadvantages because of expectations and the everything surrounding the character. Overall, I think it did really good. And by the way, it's only the first season. Maybe if there's another season, it might equal The Mandalorian, or it might go down. Who knows what's going to happen in the future?
Maybe they'll have Jar Jar in that season.
Well, that's actually my question. Do you think we will have a second season?
I have no idea. I don't know what the plan.
I mean, they left us with a tease about not being able to rule Mos Espa. If not us, who then? So, is that
right.
tease an opening to a second season?
I mean, it could happen. I hope it does. I'd like to see a second season of it. And I'm not sure what would happen, whether someone else is going to come in, the Hutts are going to come back, or if he's still got to deal with all the other families on Tatooine, because he killed their leaders, but I assume that the groups are still out there.
Yeah.
So,
has there been any announcements yet about a second season, or nothing yet? Okay. Yeah, because and they also had obviously the post-credit scene where Cobb Vanth is, I guess, alive. Yeah, but I thought it was a bit weird because they could have just put that in the next season. It wasn't really necessary to be a post-credit scene, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think it shows that he's coming back. The character of Cobb Vanth is coming back. It's just a matter of which show and which movie. And in that regard, again, Star Wars is trying to be more like Marvel, which is the ultimate compliment for Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios. But
yo, if I lived in the Star Wars universe or whatever, like on Boba Fett, I would starve because I would not be able to eat any of that crazy ass shit that they eat on the show. I would not eat that shit.
You can always go to the old Jedi temple and drink blue milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So-
true.
Straight from the titty. The way you like it.
That's right.
Some other just I'm gonna go segue. Some other types of complaints I hear about Star Wars is like, oh, that's not realistic. Well, no sugar, Sherlock. It's freaking Star Wars. Is there anything realistic in any of the Star Wars?
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta remember, these are, and again, Lucas said it himself. These are 1930s and 40s science fiction serials brought to life with modern special effects. Okay, they're not supposed to be, character studies or high drama.
Exactly.
or shocking, amazing dialogue or any of that
No,
stuff.
but if you look at Star Wars, if you're really gonna be like highbrow and you're gonna say what is the character development for different characters within Star Wars, well, there's freakishly little. I mean, there's some, but there's not much. So if you look at it from that angle, Star Wars sucks. Yeah,
It's not
Star
a character
Wars
study.
from A New Hope until the last episode of the Book of Boba Fett, it sucks. If you look at it from that angle, but you don't need to look at Star Wars from that angle. It's entertaining stuff.
A lot of people believe that the whole premise of Star Wars and everything and whatnot was directly based off of Dune.
No, it is.
Dune was part of it.
There's a lot of.
All right, Dune. Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot that George Lucas borrowed from Dune. The
Yes,
books.
And he also borrowed a lot from, like I said, those serials, Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers.
Yeah. So basically, it's there isn't much original stuff in Star Wars.
And the other great complaint I love is, oh, they only created that character to sell toys. Again, everything in Star Wars was created to sell toys. Every ship, every droid, every character. They have made more money off of toys than they ever hoped to make at the box office. So it should not surprise anyone that they're going to make more characters so they can make more toys.
Yeah, but that's also true for South Park, Marvel, DC, the whole
everything.
shebang.
Why do they change the Marvel heroes' costumes in every movie? It's to sell new toys. Why does Black Widow change her hair in every movie? It's to sell a new Funko Pop with different hair.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the way the world works, and people need to grow up and understand that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I want people to understand out there in the audience that I don't drink alcoholic beverages during my shows and whatnot just because I want to sell, Red's Wicked Apple or whatever. It's because I just genuinely enjoy catching a buzz.
Exactly.
Product placement, 100%.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that Little Caesars pizza now has a calzone shaped like the Batman symbol to as a promotion for the Batman?
Seriously?
It's true. It's true.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not from America, so I wouldn't know. But we don't have that franchise over here. No, but
that's where movies make their money. It's not the box office. The primary revenue stream for movies has not been the box office for many, many decades. All right, it's home video, it's TV rights, it's merchandising, it's promotions. That's where the money is. They make money for decades after they leave the theater.
Yeah. I know. And of course, you have the occasional Avatar or the occasional Endgame, which actually makes a lot of money in the box office. And still, the money they make on merchandising and streaming rights, TV rights, whatever, is more than they make in the box office.
Can you believe Spider-Man 3 actually outpaced Endgame box office wise? I could not believe that actually happened.
No, and well, Endgame is a better movie than No Way Home, in my opinion. But
yeah, of course. Yeah.
A lot better. A lot better.
There's a lot of issues with No Way Home, which people forgive because they get 3 Spider-Man and a lot of old nostalgia villains. But we have discussed that movie a lot already in the past. And you know what? We're going to do that again with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because the rumors there are incredible.
Hey, there's a lot of pressure on that movie. I'm telling you right now, like seriously, there's a lot of pressure on that film to like. I'm not saying it's a make or break kind of thing. I'm just saying that like right now where things are at with Marvel Studios and whatnot, you know, there are the haters and the doubters, and there's a lot of pressure, you know, with Doctor Strange too, where I feel like if it's not like better than like good, you know what I mean? It might be like a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, we will just have to wait and see. It's coming out in 2 months, 3 months, 3 months. So 3 months away. We'll just have to wait and see.
My advice is don't read the rumors. Don't click on the spoilers.
No. Yeah, you can't help but notice because I just get hit in the face with leaked casts lists, which may or may not be true. But
I don't read.
Yeah, if half of it's true, it's they're gonna have a hard time balancing this movie out. But that's just what I'm thinking. But anyway, that's not the topic of discussion. I think we have covered the Book of Boba Fett enough. And that will conclude our review for the last 2 chapters of the Book of Boba Fett. From the desert comes a stranger, and in the name of honor. Before we finish, I would like to ask you all again to hit that subscribe button and notification bell on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page, join the forum on Sakar. That way you will never miss us, and we won't have to miss you. Bye.